You are listening to Season 7 of the award-winning Christian Outdoors podcast with your host, Pete Rogers. All right, everyone. Welcome back to Christian Outdoors podcast. Again, I'm your host, Pete Rogers. And today on this episode, we have with us the founder of a ministry that's known as Truth in Nature. Jeff Davis is the founder of Truth in Nature, a ministry he and his wife, Carrie, launched in 2009 to mentor and reach fatherless boys for Jesus. With the outdoors as their backdrop, Truth in Nature creates a group-based mentoring experience for young men can encounter Christ through activities like hunting, fishing, archery, clay shooting, canoeing, hiking, and more. What began as a single chapter has now grown into a ministry of God's work serving fatherless boys in 24 communities across 13 states. At the core of this ministry is a desire to see boys grow into Christian men who will lead in their homes, workplaces, churches, and communities. Jeff's continued prayer is that God will use Truth in Nature and all those who serve within it to reach even more young men for his kingdom, pointing them to Christ through his creation. Jeff Davis, thank you for joining me here on Christian Outdoors podcast.
Thank you, Pete. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me, sir.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, and when we get started here, I was reading on your website some of your the reason behind starting Truth in Nature. I want you to share that where you and Carrie, what y'all's early life experiences led to this.
Sure. So we, Carrie and I got married, and we, like anybody else, we wanted to have kids of our own, and that wasn't in God's plan for us. And so we really began praying for how can we invest in the next generation. Since we couldn't have kids of our own. And, through a lot of prayer and stuff, we landed on a ministry for fatherless boys. And during the time we were getting things, just praying through all that, we had a group of people around us that were praying with us about, the infertility stuff and, just stuff like that. And, when we landed on Fatherless Boys, it was such a light bulb moment, like God just saying, okay, this is where we got you, because one of our guys there said, I see a lot of moms showing up at ballparks and different community activities, and it's just the moms bringing their sons. There's no dad in the picture. And so we both looked at each other, and, Carrie, my wife, she grew up being raised by a single mom. She loved she had a dad that passed away when she was 12 years old. She used to run trap lines in Pennsylvania with her dad, and just loved doing that stuff. But she, from 12 on, she grew up without a mom. And then as I was a young adult getting ready to really move out and get engaged on my own, my parents went through a divorce. And I think through those experiences, God really allowed us to see, okay, these are some of the experience some of these boys are going through. And so God had placed that and used that experience in our life to form this ministry. And we're both into the outdoors, hunting, fishing, all that good stuff. So that was a natural backdrop for us to found this ministry on.
Okay, I'm going to ask you a loaded question here, Jeff. I see doing what I do here, interviewing hundreds of people, golly, your show is number 381. So we've been doing this, and this is our 7th year now that we're doing this. And I've interviewed a lot of people. I've never found one who does things for fatherless girls. Why did you focus on boys?
Well, I think men are the leaders of the household, for one thing. I think that if you look at the country and some of the things we're facing as a country today, there's a definite absence of men in the household. And I think these boys, if you engage with them, then that's the foundation of the family. I think the statistics, Pete. I mean, you've heard it, and you know that if you lead the husband to the Lord, the family follows. If the husband is led to the Lord, and so that's why we focused on boys. I do have some resources around some mentoring programs for fatherless girls that are really good programs. Be glad to share those with you offline. Maybe they could help get a guest on there for that. But men, there's such a need in society today, I feel, because boys are getting told they could be everything. They can identify as everything, they can do everything. And I think it's time for Christian men to step up and say, it's enough is enough. This is who you're born to be, and really engage them on that level.
Yeah. I kind of thought that's what you'd answer, but I wanted you to answer instead of me just assuming for the listener. And then
Sure.
for the listener to know who may be asking, well, I'm a single mother who only has daughters. Why isn't there anything for us?
Sure.
And if I may, if you have one of those programs, reach out to me at pete@christianoutdoors.org. I'd love to have you on the show as well. But today we're talking about fatherless boys with Truth in Nature and with Jeff Davis. And so with that, so you and Carrie started this ministry to minister to fatherless boys.
Sure.
What does all that entail? I mean, what is it that you really do?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, if you look at our social media pages and you look at that, you're going to see boys out there with, I mean, you look at it from this past weekend, we opened our hunting season. So there's a lot of hunting going on, a lot of first deers and a lot of memories being made out there. But the backdrop is God's creation. There's a lot that can be done, and a lot of walls that can break down in God's creation. When you're sitting in a deer stand, when you're out on the lake watching the sun come up, or watching the sunset, or you're hiking or you're canoeing or whatever the season is, there's a lot that can be done in God's creation. And so when we engage them, that's the backdrop. But our heart is to lead these boys to Jesus. I mean, that's 100% what we do. If we're not sharing our faith and the gospel with these boys, then we might as well just quit what we're doing. And I mean, because that's the foundation. But there's a lot of fun that comes in that too, with the outdoors and stuff. So when a young man joins our program, it's middle and high school age boys. So after they graduate 5th grade, they're eligible to join our program. This isn't a one and done weekend experience.
Okay.
This is an ongoing discipleship relationship that these boys can engage in a group-based mentoring program from middle school all the way through high school. And they can join at any time while they're in middle school or high school. But there's one big, large group program every month for each chapter. And then in between, there's opportunities for the boys to connect with the mentors on more of a discipleship personal level. Those big group activities can be overnight. Sometimes they're day only. They happen on the weekends. And it's all the mentors and all the boys from those chapters get together, and they do whatever's in season. Spring, they're doing fishing and turkey hunting and stuff like that. Summer, they're usually around water because it's hot, especially most of our chapters are in the Southeast. And then fall, you move into your deer hunting and, some hiking and camping and stuff like that as well. But during those programs, our heart is to share our faith and point these boys to Jesus. I mean, there's dedicated times where we'll sit around a campfire and share a devotional. A lot of times it's just tackling a topic that some of these young men are going through. So it's not all hunting and fishing. It's there's a very focused concentration on sharing Jesus with these boys.
Right. Okay. Well, you said a couple of things that I think will clarify for me and also the listener who may be interested in this is not a summer camp. This is not a where you send your boy for a week or a weekend, and as you said, one and done. So explain the whole mentorship process, because you obviously need adult men as well as the boys to do this. So explain that part for the listener who may be interested in that.
Yeah. So and you're absolutely right. So when this boy comes in, it's not like we say we have a one mentor for every 3 boy ratio. That's our standard ratio on the back end. But it's when a boy comes in, we're not going to say, okay, boy, you're paired with this specific mentor. It's all group based. So this group, basically what we see happen is God kind of connects the boys and the mentors that have like interest, and maybe the mentor is going through a life story or had been through a life story, of being fatherless or something like that these boys are experiencing. So we let that kind of happen organically through God's direction. And during the programs, that mentorship happens based on, those breakouts, those, like if we're let's say we're fishing around a pond, for instance, you'll have a mentor that's really connected with 2 or 3 boys, and they'll be over on one side of the pond fishing and just sharing life with each other, building that relationship and getting comfortable with each other. And that transpires into, we see young men then outside of the program will call the mentor and say, hey, I had a great time fishing with you. Is there a possibility you might want to come to my baseball game? Or is there a possibility you might want to, come to whatever they've got going on? And so that's when the rubber starts hitting the road. You see, the closer you get with these young men, the more you can share your faith with them and point them to Jesus.
Right.
And so that's how the mentoring works there.
Okay. Well, let me ask this then, which I think is the next logical question is, let's talk about the mentors. Okay.
Yes, sir.
And first of all, how you find them. Secondly, is there any training involved and what that involves? And, well, I'll start with that and then we'll build on to it. So
Yes,
how do
sir.
you find these men? Yeah.
Yeah, so usually they all come from the local community, wherever their chapter's at, and we usually each chapter is run by a program director. So that volunteer program director is the chapter leader, so to speak, and they're associated with a church. They're usually in a men's group. A lot of the times, those mentors are coming out of that men's group from the church or from a coworker that they know that's a solid guy. Our mentors have to go through a application screening. They have to go online, fill out an application. One of our internal guys reviews those applications, talks with them about, their experience, in the outdoors, working with kids, that kind of thing. Next, they have to go through a criminal background check, just like any other youth serving organization should do. And we also have a ministry safe training, sexual abuse and awareness training that is a 1-hour online training for these guys to go through. Our top priority is protecting our kids, our boys. And so we do all we can on the front end to ensure that we got the right guys coming to this program to mentor these boys.
Yeah, I would think that would be a concern number one as a parent.
Absolutely.
Who's going to be mentoring my child? What do they believe? What kind of personality do they have? What's their background? All that kind of stuff. I'd be the guy, if I was a single parent doing that, I'd be like, I'm asking a lot of questions about this man who's going to be around my kid,
We want them
to. Yeah. Yeah.
And we have a statement of faith on our website that they all have to agree to. And I mean, that's out there public, for anybody to see.
Yeah. And that's important because I want to highlight that is that on their truthandnature.org website under the about is their statement of faith. And they really break it down really well under the, what we believe from a Christian perspective. I'm pulling it up here. I can see you are too. And it's really broken down very, very well so that if you are wondering, well, what do they really believe about the Bible? What do they really believe about Jesus? What do they really believe about God? It's all written out there in a very easy to understand way. And that's a good thing for a parent to know. As a mentor, if I wanted to be a mentor, as an example, I'm a middle-aged dad. I got kids of my own.
Mm-hmm.
How much time is required from me as somebody who wants to be a mentor, as an example? I'm just, again, trying to ask the question that I think a listener may be asking is, if I want to get involved with this, what kind of a time commitment do I have to give?
Yeah. So our programs are 1 week in a month. That could be depending on the chapter. It could be a Friday evening over into Saturday mid-afternoon. That would be our big group program. And some chapters will, depending on the season, will run a day only Saturday program. So you'll show up, 7, 8 o'clock in the morning, meet all the boys and other mentors, and go do your activity and your group investment into the boys. So really, that is the commitment. One weekend program per month. And we understand that, you may not attend 100% of them. What we ask is that you're consistent enough. I mean, these boys have been let down, by men all their life, and or they just haven't had a man. There's other situations, dad passing away and those type of things. But just be consistent enough where they know that next month hey, mentor Jeff, you're gonna be there. Or I can text you if something's going on at school or something like that, and get some advice. But that's the commitment. As the relationships grow, those kind of take different, just different paths depending on the boy and some of the boys and the mentors in the chapter. Like I mentioned earlier, they may call and say, "Hey, can you want to come to my football game, or you want to come?" And as your time allows, man, take your family and go see the boy play football. He loved that.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So as a prospective mentor, if you're thinking about this, and you got committed 1 weekend a month, and
Sure.
and then anything after that is just bonus.
Exactly.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Now,
Anything.
I would assume that each chapter designates those individual weekends. Like, is it the second Saturday of the month, or does it change? And because people are so overscheduled nowadays, Jeff,
I
myself
understand.
included. Myself
Mm-hmm.
included. I live by that calendar, and I hate that I have to do that. But part of that
Mm-hmm.
is I'm getting old and I can't remember stuff, so I got to put it on the calendar. What do you mean I got a doctor's appointment today? I forgot about it. Yeah. So part of it's that, and another part is that we just overschedule, and
Mm-hmm.
I say, "Dang gum, I forgot that it was Truth in Nature weekend, and I've
Mm-hmm.
already planned to take the family camping."
That's right.
So I'm just curious: is it a consistent first Saturday of the month, second Saturday of the month, whatever, or does that just chapter by chapter fluctuate?
So it's not necessarily a org wide level, first or second Saturday. But what happens is each chapter leader director sets the schedule in January, sends it out. It's published on our website. If you go to each individual chapter page, you will see what they have remaining for the year. Every month, if a program happens, it drops off the website. But there's a schedule that gets put out. So any mentor that comes in, they can look at the schedule and they can see all the way from January to December what the dates are.
Okay, I'm
And
looking at that now. I
yeah,
didn't click on individual chapter, but I see it now.
yes,
And
sir.
I went to the one here in South Carolina, where I am, Midlands.
Yes, sir.
So October 18th, which is this coming Saturday, survival skills, and then the 14th and 15th is deer hunting, and then this December 7th, end of the year banquet.
That's right.
So
Yeah, that's what's
that's
left for
their
the
chapter,
yeah.
right? That's their chapter. Let's pick a different one here. Let's go to somebody in upstate New York. Same, it's very similar, very well done.
Mm-hmm.
Their October one has already happened, so they got a
Yep,
November deer hunt and a Christmas party in December.
that's right.
Um, so as the mentor, I can see the entire year's already scheduled, so I know this is the weekends that I need to be there and be available.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
That's cool.
We try to plan those out at the beginning of the year. Now, during the year there may be an occasional, hey man, the weather's like just, we've got, severe weather coming in or something, so we got to push it to another weekend. But we make those adjustments as we need to. But we try to maintain a steady calendar because, like you said, I'm the same way. I mean, your calendar gets so booked, and we get so overcommitted sometimes that
Hmm.
and we understand that with our men. We respect that. I mean, these guys are volunteering their time, and if we put a date on the calendar, we want to honor that date. And for our moms and boys, I mean, some of these boys are involved in multiple things, so
Oh yeah,
you have to be effective and to have the most impact. You want the most boys there. So
yeah, and you see that a lot with single moms
sure,
where their dad's not there. Is they try to keep their sons involved in everything to keep them out of other things. Right.
absolutely,
They're involved in baseball, then they go straight into swimming in the summer, and then they go straight into football, or,
that's right.
or lacrosse, or whatever their sport of
Mhm.
choice is. And then they go right into basketball. They just keep them going so that they don't get into the wrong groups.
That's
And
right.
they're oftentimes over scheduled as well, but it's understandable. I mean,
Yeah,
it's understandable.
absolutely.
Just how can you, um, well, here's another question I have. I know you focus on nature and stuff, but I'm thinking about um some of the things that I made sure I taught my sons and daughters, things that I think only a dad can teach,
Mm-hmm.
from working on a car to, I mean, the easy example is changing a tire, right? But I did more than
Mm-hmm.
that, right? This is how you put brakes on your car. This is how you change the oil. This is how you, when your lawnmower won't start. These are the things here's the checklist that you go through. And I am not a mechanic. Okay. First of all, let's
Me
be
either.
clear about that. Let's be clear about that. Okay. As I told my neighbor one time, I said, if you tell me what's wrong with it, I can probably fix it. But figuring out what's wrong with it, I
That's right.
cannot diagnose anything on an engine. It's just not my thing. But also how to use power tools or basic electricity, basic plumbing. These are the kind of things that I made sure that my sons knew. And I'm wondering if y'all do things of that too, or you just strictly focus on just the nature side.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And I'll take a sidebar here and talk about we're headquartered in Rockmart, Georgia, right northwest Atlanta. And so we've got this awesome 644 acre camp and headquarters here in Rockmart, Georgia. That's where I'm at right now. And what we've been able to do over these last 4 years is introduce summer camps. So this is all of our chapters. It's open to all of our chapters to come. And everything we do is free. Our boys don't pay for a program. And so summer camps are free too. So these single moms have an opportunity to send their boys to a summer camp either in June or July. Back when we first started our summer camps, what we did was introduce, they do everything normal summer camp, outdoor summer camp, rifle range, sporting clays, archery, fishing, all that stuff, canoeing, all that stuff. But we introduced a trade option. So we've been able to teach these boys welding. They welded rebar cross. They got to cut rebar and weld rebar crosses, learn how to operate all of that. We have a ministry partner that comes in and does that, Excel Ministries and mentoring. And then they've learned carpentry, and they've also learned auto mechanics, basic auto mechanics. So we're doing, yes, most of it's involved in the outdoors, but at the end of the day, it's just like you said, what you wanted to teach your sons, and what you would envision a dad wanting to pass down to his son to make sure he knows those basic things. Heck, we even did an outdoor
Right.
cooking thing one time. Where we taught these boys how to season meat, get it on the grill, cook the grill. We made it a big competition, and the winner got to take home a Weber grill and grill for his mom and all this stuff. It was
That's
pretty
cool.
cool.
We get to that though, I have some more questions in that regard. I'm going to stop here for just a minute for allow some of the people that support Christian Outdoors to talk about some of their products here. So the other question would be along that same lines is, let's see, where did it go? So you did like welding, auto mechanics, and but there's here's what it was. It's one of the things that seems to be missing, in my opinion, and I don't think I'm alone in this, is chivalry and civility among males. Holding open the door for a lady, holding the door for a stranger, carrying something, somebody struggling, carrying something out of the store, going over there and helping them without, asking for money for helping them, or taking your shopping cart back to the shopping corral. Well, that's a pet peeve of mine, seeing them shopping carts all over. It's
I
right
know,
there.
man.
It's
Yeah,
right there. Put it
You
back.
just walk across and put it back.
Yeah, it's right there. So, and these are things that dads typically model for their children. We don't necessarily teach it; they just see us do it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And therefore, but these fatherless boys don't have that to model. And I'm curious if all that's part incorporated in your part. I would think it would be, just as a matter of the way that you normally would do things, that they would see that. Well, wait a minute, don't push the boat off until everybody's seated and careful, or hold the door for Jerry. Don't just let the door close in his face. Things of that nature.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, a lot of that's natural. Like you said, it's modeled. Our mentors are A+ guys, and they're going to model that. The cool thing is some of the directors' wives will actually cook for the programs. They want to cook or serve, or we have a local women's group from a local church want to bring meals over for the program that weekend or whatever. And and you'll see that, as they come in, we're helping them unload the car. We're, opening door if they're coming into like the kitchen area or something at one of our camps. They're, opening the doors for them, those type things. So one of our summer camps, just one of the icebreakers was one of the guys leading was to go around the table that you were sitting at in your so-called team and actually firm handshake, look them in the eye, introduce yourself, first and last name. Not one of these, I'm looking at the ground and barely holding your hand, but firm handshake, look them in the eye. And, as a man, that's how you introduce yourself, And,
that's right. That's right. And you do it standing up.
That's right. Yeah. You don't sit here, the whole, but
no, you get up.
Yeah.
You get up.
Exactly. Exactly.
I caught myself in that trap Sunday. I was sitting in the pew. We still have pews at our church. But anyway, and a guy standing right there at the pew and sticks his hand out. If I stand up, we're going to be nose to nose. So I'm like, I wanted to stand up, but I couldn't,
That's right.
It felt awkward to shake his hand sitting down. It just really did. But I was like, I can't stand up or, I'm going to end up kissing him. So we didn't want that to happen.
No.
But it was that inclination to, to get up. And that's an important thing, young men, if you're listening to this, is as Jeff said, when you are introducing yourself, you never do it sitting down. You stand up. And I want to add this. This is just a Pete thing. Anytime I'm being introduced to a female, I take my hat off when I shake their hand. Mm-hmm. It's just a simple sign of respect, right? It really is. And here I am wearing a hat inside, but I'm Out Seasoning, a good sponsor of Christian Outdoors, is and they are great supporter, great product as well. But there's just things that I was taught, because I'm 61 years old, right? I'm a completely different generation, but that I was taught that I see that just doesn't happen as much anymore. And that's why I was just curious if that's part of what you guys do as well.
Sure. Life skills are just, they're just as important. It's important for these young men to know how to load and unload a gun safely and how to, be on a range safe. It's important for them to know the chivalry aspect of it. Heck, we even had, there was one program where the guy was going to teach some survival skills, like you saw on the thing, and he was going to do some, survival knot tying and stuff like that to build, a lean-to out in the woods when you needed to or whatever. Well, his first basic knot he taught them on Friday night was neckties. He went and got, I don't know how many neckties for these boys. And he walked them through how to tie a necktie, and all the boys took the ties home with them. And he told them, he challenged them all. He said, we want to hear from your moms and see if you were able to go home and tie the necktie. Well, you would have thought these moms hit the lottery, Pete. They texted and called and emailed and said, "Oh my gosh, my son knows how to tie a necktie." So
that's huge, though. That's huge.
It is.
It really is. I can still remember when my dad taught me, the overhand Windsor knot. I believe that's what it was called. Yeah. And it's, and I still remember, it's, whenever I wear a tie, that's the kind I wear. I'm a bow tie guy now, but, cause I found when I drip toothpaste on my tie, it costs more to get it clean than it does to buy a new one. So
me and you have a lot of common challenges.
I know. I'm a drooler. Stuff just falls out of my mouth, and that's terrible. But those kind of things are just really important. I was just curious if that's stuff that you did as well. And I mentioned more about these summer camps. So you do 2 1-week-long summer camps, or you do multiple summer camps?
Yeah, we do. Right now, we're just so at our headquarters here in Rockmart, we can sleep up to 120 boys and mentors through our bunk houses and cabins we have. There's still some opportunities here with some of the when we took over the facility. It was a rundown troubled boys home, and it sat here for years. And that's a cool story on how that came to be a big God thing. For us to be headquartered here. But yeah, so those summer camps, we can sleep up to 120 boys and mentors. Right now, we've only had the need, so to speak, to do 2, one in June and one in July. They pick either or. There is a possibility within the next couple years we'll have to move to 3, depending on how many more cabins we can bring online. But yeah, and it's all free. I mean, the chapters have their own little their own local chapter budgets that cover the transportation down to Rockmart
Okay.
for the boys, and the mentors bring them down. And then once they get here, we have a sponsor that's a couple sponsors that's helped us, individuals and stuff like that, that's helped us put these on. So there's no cost. I mean, and I think that's a huge thing when you look at it, because would these boys, most summer camps cost some money, and would these boys be able to have something that they can go back to school and say, hey, I went to this summer camp, and if there was a cost. And to me, my heart's always been, we were founded in 2009, been doing this almost 17 years. And to me, if you have to charge a single mom to send her son to anything we do, you're going to pretty much lose your effectiveness. You're not going to be very effective. So
yeah. Which leads to the question: how do you get the money to pay for all this?
Yeah, it's all a fate thing. God provides, but there's several opportunities. I mean, on the chapter level, local communities support the chapter. The local church may support the chapter. Local businesses. From an organization level, we have private donors. Personal individual donors. We have foundations that we support. That support us. Heck, we just had Smith and Wesson give us a limited edition set this past year. Actually gave us 2 that we were able to, we raised almost $70,000 just off that limited edition set. It was 2 gold plated lever action. One was a lever action 44 and a lever action revolver. And so that was a really good partnership we had there with them.
And you just did a raffle for those?
Yeah, both of them were raffles. One was a more, limited, we're only selling so many tickets, raffle. And then the next one was a more open-ended raffle. But yeah, they went well. That was a good partnership there. So we were blessed with that. So
good. So things like that. So you basically have fundraising activities, and
we do a big
whether it's raffles or or like a golf tournament or a clay shoot or something that way to raise money. That's on the national level, but each chapter is responsible for raising their own funds. Is that correct?
That's correct. And chapter programming is not a big, huge, I mean, you can take some boys camping and do some hot dogs over the fire. Pretty economical, I mean, it's not like, and maybe we'll talk about this later on, but when we're looking to open a new chapter, we identify a guy that wants to start a chapter in their community. That's one of their big questions. How much money do we need to raise? And, it's depending on the size of the chapter, you can do it pretty economical and not have to have that fundraising burden. A lot of our chapters have local businesses that'll support just about all of their local budget needs.
I would think on the local level, the most difficult thing would be a place.
Mm-hmm. That's correct.
Finding a landowner who is not afraid of being sued and says, okay, well, the boys can come here on the first Saturday of every month and you got here's the key to the gate. Y'all go have fun, and I'll be there too.
Sure.
I would think that would be the most difficult part, would be having a place where people can get to and to be able to do a lot of these outdoor activities, a camp out and fires and shooting archery or whatever, how to set traps and all that kind of stuff, run a trap line and things of that nature.
It is. And we've been blessed with guys that just, once they hear a chapter's in their community, hey man, I got, 40, 50 acres over here with a pond and perfect setup for you guys. Our insurance on the back end will extend to any landowner that allows us use of their property. So they're covered under our policy and umbrella policy and all that good stuff, all those boring insurance details. But that's important to a landowner,
It is.
I mean, they want to know that they're covered. And so, yeah, that is. We have guys that get creative. There's some national and state parks that are nearby where they can go do some activities there. There's public,
Mhm.
or not public, but like some private gun ranges that will allow them to come use their range. So they
Mhm.
can get creative. There's indoor archery ranges or outdoor archery ranges. You can go hold a program there and do lunch and your devotion and stuff afterwards, and things like
Right.
that. So, but to have a dedicated spot, a dedicated landowner that says, "Hey, here's your spot for Truth and Nature," Rock Mart or whatever.
Yeah.
It's a blessing.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Um, Before we take our next break, what are we missing? What did I leave out on this part of the show about truth and nature?
I'd just say, there's and you can stop me if we're going to cover this later, but if there's starting a chapter, we talked about how to be involved as a boy, how to be involved as a mentor, but starting a chapter, we just approved our next chapter down in Dothan, Alabama, that we'll be announcing soon. And if you're a man out there listening and you think, you know what, I could probably lead one of these things, we have there's not a lot of administrative overhead that goes into it. We handle all that on the back end, and we have a blueprint of how to start a chapter. And so if you're out there and want to lead one of these in your community, we'd love to talk to you, because the fatherless statistics are in every single community out there, unfortunately. And
I
that
think
need is,
that's important. Is you don't have to reinvent the wheel if you want to start a chapter. You already have
that's
the
right.
blueprint or the manuscript, or what's we're looking for. Blueprint's probably the best word. The instruction manual.
Yeah.
This is what you need to do in order
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
to open and to run a chapter, and
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
from a commitment to advertising to finding the moms and the children, blah blah blah. All that's already spelled out for you.
So we'll start these chapters out. We even support them as far as just we'll give them $1,000 seed money to get started up and to get going, and then we have the processes and procedures on the back end to even help them get established in the community through some of our social media advertising and
Right.
different things to get some boys connected. They usually have some guys that are interested in helping, so mentors aren't necessarily as hard to get as some of the boys. But in a new community, you just have to get the word out and let people know
Right.
that this is what we're doing.
Right.
So we have
And
that
on the
process, and then we support them on the back end. I mean, it's one big
mhm.
family. So once you're a chapter, you're part of our family. So
So on the website, for those listening, if you scroll to the bottom of the homepage, there's a get involved link, and you click there. They have two different, a place for volunteers and a place if you're looking to start a new chapter. Just click on that, and you can follow that to figure out where it is. So again, that's truthandnature.org. That'll be in the show notes for anybody listening. Hello, everyone. This portion of the show is being brought to you by High Mountain Seasonings. With the fall hunting season starting, one of my favorite ways to use my game meat is making jerky. And as long as I've been making jerky, I've found that the kits from High Mountain Seasoning are the easiest, best tasting, and complete sets on the market today. With 7 different flavors to choose from, the jerky kits from High Mountain Seasoning are your go-to choice for game meat jerky. And you can find out more at highmtnjerky.com. When I do this show, I always start with the same question when I ask people to share their personal faith story. So obviously, your relationship with Christ is what led you to this ministry. But what I am curious about, and I hope at least one other listener is as well, is your faith story that led you to that. So I'm gonna start with a very simple question: did you grow up in a faith centered home, in a going to church your whole life, or is it something that happened later? Tell us about that and how that led to where you are today.
yeah, I grew up in church. I grew up attending church anytime the doors were open. 2 times on Sunday, once on Wednesday, and so it was really surrounded by a godly church family. Um, as I grew into my teenage years, I started to think I knew everything on my own, and like we do, like teenagers do. Is that
Yeah.
like yeah, and I kind of got away from that. I kind of started pushing, church and stuff away. Now, when I was young, I accepted Jesus as my Lord and Savior, and I know I accepted Him as my Lord and Savior, and I was baptized, and put my faith and trust in Him. But in my teenage years, and then when that happened between my father and mother, and they were divorced, I really pushed away any man, any type of relationship with any man, and I went into a kind of a dark place through my 20s, and never really. I thought, you know what, I'm just gonna, I'm just done. I got all this on my own. I'm gonna focus on. At that time, I was working in IT, and I'm gonna focus on my career. But I got involved in some relationships I shouldn't have been involved in, and luckily God saw me through all that. I remember laying in my bed one night, Kennesaw, Georgia, in my apartment that I was renting at the time, and just in a dark, lost place, man. And knowing that I needed to come back to my faith, and I just said, God, I know you haven't never left me. You've always been here, because I made that decision long ago, and I'm ready to get out of this hole. It's just I'm wore out. I'm tired. I'm just ready to get out of this hole. And I was probably 28 years old at the time, and it wasn't like I woke up the next day and the light switch had changed and everything was all fine and good. But slowly but surely, after a few weeks, my aunt, who was a real estate agent, I call her my aunt. She's a cousin by marriage, but I call her my aunt. And she called and said, "Hey, if you ever thought about buying your first time home, I've got some opportunities over here in this county next door to you." And I took that opportunity and I bought my first home, and it got me away from some of the area I was in, the people I was in, and I started just kind of gradually distancing myself from those things. And then I met my wife, and Pete, that was a godsend. I met my wife. We started dating. A year later, we were married, and we both started going to church here locally in Dallas, Georgia, at Westridge Church. And I'll never forget. She grew up Catholic, so she went through the whole Catholic school and all of that. And I'll never forget. We were in church one day, and we kind of did everything backwards. We didn't, it's just everybody's story, right? So we were in church one day, and we walked out and we got in the car, and she's just crying. And I said, "What's wrong?" And she said, "For the first time in my life, I realized that I can have a relationship with Jesus without having to go through somebody else, go through a priest or whatever." Right. And she had gotten saved that morning in church. And that was a few weeks before Easter Sunday. I rededicated my life, and we were baptized together on that Easter Sunday. And then a year later is when 2 years later is when God laid Truth and Nature on our heart to start this ministry. So, in a nutshell, that's it. There was a lot of ups, downs, a lot of answered prayers, and a lot of ways God just showed up and took care of us. Even as we started into the ministry, there was a lot of stuff there. But in a nutshell, that's the faith journey there. So.
Well, I think there's more that you're missing because, or that you're not sharing because to you, it's just that was your life. But I'm going to ask you some pointed questions, if I may. If you're not comfortable answering them, that's okay too. Having started ministry myself, Christian Outdoors, and you starting Truth and Nature, it's not easy. Mm-hmm. And you don't just jump in and say, "All right, God, provide the money. I'm quitting my job and I'm starting Truth and Nature, and we're going." No, it's you got to keep your job. I'm assuming you keep your job, and you're starting this in the margins of your life, which is not a big area. And it, like me, I'm still working full time for the USDA and still doing this. And it's like finding the energy and the time and the passion to keep doing it. For other guys and gals out there that are listening to this, who are contemplating starting a ministry, feeling called to do something, give them a little word of encouragement about that journey.
Yeah, and you're right. You started in the margins of your life, because I was in full-time IT. I've been blessed to now be able to do this with my full-time efforts, but starting out, that was not the case. And there was, you basically are, and just as well, you work your full-time job, you come home, you maybe grab some dinner, and then you're jumping right into, okay, what now has to happen to move this ministry forward?
Right.
I would say, just make sure God's calling you to it. And get some people around you that can help pray through you, who can help speak wisdom into your life. Because it can drain you and it can burn you out real quick if it's something that, if truth in nature was just something Jeff thought of and dreamed up, then I would have got burned out years ago. But
Right.
God has, and don't get me wrong, there's times where, with anything, there's times where you're like, man, is this really what you want me to be doing, God? Is this, because you are tired and you do get to that point sometime. But I say just make sure this is what God's calling you to. Get some good counsel, good wisdom, good friends, and good accountability around you, praying about it, and take care of yourself. Rest is a lot of times overlooked. As men especially, you want to run, and there's something to be said for rest. To keep you healthy as a man, as a follower of Christ, as a husband, as a father, and definitely as a ministry leader.
Yeah. Yeah, rest is important, and they got the baseball playoffs going on now every night, not going to bed till after midnight. 15 inning games, keeping me up to 2:00 in the morning. I'm like, I really got to get some rest, man.
Yeah.
But I love my baseball. I do love my baseball. And
That's right.
I want to speak to this too, because you said that, because there are times when you know that you've been called into ministry, and you and Truth and Nature, me and the podcast, and somebody else somewhere else, that there are times when it's like it's not a drudgery, but it's harder than other times. And like for me, I'm being transparent here. The fundraising part is very hard for me. It's very, very hard for me. Even though I know that we're furthering the kingdom and we're giving people good exposure, with their products through our outreach. We just had 10 million downloads all time. We just hit that a few weeks ago. It is just something that is not easy for me to do. And this time of year, when we're heavy into it, I get down, and I lose some of the excitement and enthusiasm, because I don't enjoy that. I'm not good at it. I don't enjoy it. And I'm saying that to one, to encourage myself, but also to other people out there who go through those seasons of the year or of ministry where, yeah, it's not all rainbows and roses. And there's a lot of struggle, and a lot of prayer, a lot of time seeking God's direction, a lot of time trusting and just believing that, okay, God, you know what the need is, please make sure that it happens, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I say that as a word of encouragement to other people who are in ministry, especially the, what do you call it, non-traditional ministries, thinking, which is what you and I both are in, a non-traditional ministry. It's a little harder in the economy being like it is. And then, everybody has their hand out for this program or that program. And how do we get people to support what we do? And a lot of it, as you said earlier, is just faith. It's just faith. God knows the need, and he will bring the people to us that we need to have. But I say that as a word of encouragement to people as well, is that it can be a grind, just a grind at times. Right.
Well, I'll tell you something, Pete, just to encourage you. Several years ago, I think it was 3 years ago or so, myself and Daniel Beckham were on a show with you. And through that show, a guy in Mayville, New York, heard the podcast. And he decided he wanted to start a chapter. He said he called me and he said, "Man, I was listening to that podcast and I'm pounding my dash in my car saying this is exactly what we need in this community." So he reached out to me. He started the chapter. This past summer, he brought 2 of his boys down to summer camp. They both gave their life to Jesus and were baptized at the summer camp, and that's all because he heard us on your podcast. Wow. So two men.
Thank you for that.
Going to be in eternity because of what you're doing.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
So, thank you for that. And that's just the one that reached out to you. You don't know other people that are
absolutely,
that are impacted by it. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. That's a good word. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. So, in conclusion for this show, tell people again We're going to go through where they can find you and follow you and what they need to do to be involved in Truth in Nature Outdoors.
Yeah. So, you can definitely check out our website, truthinnature.org. We're on Facebook, Instagram, all the social media platforms. Just search for Truth in Nature. We're looking for mentors. We're looking for guys that can start chapters in their communities. All of that information can be found online. Truth in Nature is headquartered in Rockmart, Georgia. And we have chapters in 13 different states now. So you could find a chapter near you. If there's not a chapter near you, love to talk to you more. If you're a man that maybe could talk about spearheading a chapter in your community. So love to talk to you more about what that looks like. Just go on the website, click the contact me information, and that'll come straight to me, and I'll be in touch with you.
Sounds awesome. And all that information will be in the show notes. Truthinnature.org is the website. And it's also Truth in Nature and all the social media platforms. Jeff Davis, thank you for joining us here, buddy.
Thank you, Pete. I really appreciate it, man. It's always good to catch up with you.
Yes.